This is the Paycheck to Daycheck Reselling Podcast.
I'm Liz.
And I'm Ashley.
Together, we have been making money online collectively for over 10 years.
Our mission is to help you start, learn, and grow a reselling business and to inspire you to turn your paycheck into a daycheck.
The world is changing, and we want to help you change with it.
Welcome back to another episode of the Paycheck to Daycheck Reselling Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about everything that you need to know to be successful during quarter four. And if you're unfamiliar, Q4 is October, November, December of the year, and it is a big time for resellers because it's the holiday season and people are buying. And so this is going to be an episode just kind of giving you guys tips on how you can prepare for Q4, because the best thing to do is to prepare for things like this and just some things to consider. A lot of you are probably new. This might be your first Q4, but we're going to give you some of the tips that we have for being successful.
So my first Q4, I had heard all about like how crazy the sales were. I think you and I had just met and like the group that we were in, and a lot of like the more veteran sellers were telling us, like, make sure you're prepared, get ready. Things are going to be crazy. It's nonstop. It's so exciting. And like, I had never really experienced it because before then I had just been selling on Poshmark and just really selling like, used clothes and shoes and stuff like that. So I had just started getting into like doing the retail arbitrage and online arbitrage stuff. And I remember like learning that Walmart had done their clearance items. So I went to my local Walmart and I started like scanning stuff and, looking things up for sold comps on eBay. And I'd gone like kind of in the evening. I think it was probably around like 7:30, maybe 8:30 at night. It was kind of later. And I remember it was like dead and I had a cart full of toys, and I go to check out like our Walmart was like really weird for a while. Like all the self-checkout registers were closed. You had to go to a person. I think it was because like there was a lot of theft or something going on. But anyway, so I go up to this lady to, cash out, and she's like, "Oh, wow, you're getting started on your Christmas shopping early." And I was like, "Oh yeah, lots of people to buy for." So, just trying to veer the conversation away from why I have so many children's toys in my cart and no children with me or any signs of children. So, I'm trying to like talk to her about like her kids and her grandkids and what toys they like, and just kind of see like what she's looking for, the upcoming holidays for her family, and just getting some information. So, checked out, no problem, got home, started listing the stuff, and it started selling like pretty quickly right away. And then I started listing some Christmas items and Halloween items that I had like my own stuff, and those things started selling. And it was probably right around like July or August, I think, was when Walmart started doing their clearance. So it started like getting really pumped up, but I didn't really understand what I was getting myself into. And I didn't really understand what people meant by like, get yourself prepared for Q4. So you hear these, other resellers talk about it and say these things, but you might not know what it means. So that's why we wanted to do this episode. And like Liz said, give you guys some tips and stuff from our own experience, what has helped us in past Q4s, just to help you guys out too. And if you're a veteran seller, maybe you can pick something up that, learn from our mistakes so you don't make the same mistakes that we have.
Yeah, I think this episode will be good because I have more of like an Amazon background with being prepared for Q4, and you're more of like the retail arbitrage. So I think we'll definitely have some good tips. But I think the first one is definitely you want to be organized for it. You want to make sure you stay on top of your shipping supplies. That's a big thing. A lot of people don't realize things go out of stock during Q4, and shipping supplies is one of them. You might come to the point where you're going to need more bubble wrap, and you go to Walmart and you try to find bubble wrap and it's sold out. So definitely stay on top of the shipping supplies. Also like listing older items. And just this week, Casey and I had a pair of snow boots that were listed, and a lot of people save their winter stuff for winter. I say list that stuff year round because you never know when people are looking for that kind of stuff. And the snow boots, we actually had like a little message in the order on eBay, and the person's like, can you please ship these as soon as possible? I need them for a play. So even like during the holidays, yeah, people need stuff for the holidays, but people need stuff year round. So a lot of that stuff, we are ones where we keep like winter gear for winter. We just list stuff year round. So that's another tip is, yes, you want to buy for Q4, but don't be afraid to list it right away. Don't wait to list those items.
Yeah, if I end up, like at first I was saving stuff, like you were saying, like listing seasonal items during that season, but I found that I was misplacing things way too frequently. And then when I was doing like inventory audits, I'm like, holy crap, I have this whole bin of stuff that never got listed because I was, quote unquote, saving it. So now I just, like you, list everything all at once. I have my system of processing my inventory. It just all gets listed all at the same time. I'm not saving anything because it's going to go missing for a while. And I don't want to find it, a year from now, like, oh crap, I forgot about this thing. And like you said, people buy stuff all year round, this country. And if you do like eBay, international shipping, like other parts of the world have different seasons, obviously, than what we're in right now. So just a quick note on the shipping supply thing. If you do run out and you have to go to Walmart, like you said, for bubble wrap, you're also paying a premium for those supplies than if you have to buy it like retail at like your local store. It's way more expensive to buy your things from like Staples or Walmart or whatever than it is to order online from like, you pack and ship or whatever. And I ran out of labels, like Dymo, the 4x4 labels, my first Q4. I'm like, oh crap. Like, and I had sales coming in, like I couldn't find them locally. So I had to overnight them to my house. And again, paying a premium for like overnight shipping, which is such an annoyance, so just make sure that you have enough stuff stocked up. Like I would say more than enough, because it's not like you're not going to use these things going forward in your business. It's just better to be overly prepared, I think, when it comes to shipping supplies specifically. So the next tip that we have for you guys is to start looking for holiday items like decor, gifts, winter gear, all of the things. This is like, this is my thing. This is what I love. This is what I live for. This is my time of year right now. I just went to, if you watch my Instagram stories at all, I just went to Home Goods yesterday. They put out like a ton of their fall stuff and Halloween stuff. And I know this is like basic girl shit, but I just don't care. Like I love it so much. It's my thing. And I love buying it to resell also. And every year it seems like there's these hot items from like Home Goods, Marshalls, TJ Maxx, like those stores. Even Target usually will have like some kind of like viral item or a couple of them around the holidays. So I love the hunt of looking for those things. And it might not be like the most useful use of my time at this point, but that's what brings me joy, and that's what I love doing this time of year. And I try to make the most of my time throughout the rest of the year so I can kind of like, go do what I really love to do and run around to 5 different Targets in one day looking for this bolo hot viral item. And I love that stuff. So I went to Home Goods yesterday. They just put this stuff out the day before, I guess, according to the girls. And I was looking for a couple of these pillows. I didn't find the ones that I was looking for, but I found these wicked cute pillows. And now the plan was to sell them, obviously, but I brought them home and I showed my boyfriend, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'll keep them. So, maybe I'll go to another Home Goods and see if I can find more of them. I bought the last 2, but and sell the other 2. It's just stuff like that, and it's interesting to watch the trends every year of what is going to go viral, what people are looking for, the hot items. And one of the ways that you can tune into those things is by consuming content, which is, a fine line between over consuming and consuming for like research purposes. So TikTok, Instagram, watching things like that for what people are buying. You have to kind of keep an eye on some of these like top influencers for home decor items, clothing items, to be in the know first, or at least like the first, couple days of being in the know, so you can find those items before everyone else does, and then you have an opportunity to resell them for a lot of money.
Yeah, and that kind of goes into like the next point we had was when you are looking at some of these trends or finding these items that are going to be the viral items or ones that are going to be very popular for the season, there's a lot of leads out there and they're great. But one thing to really keep in mind is don't go too hard on those items. Like make sure that you're not overbuying them. Kind of goes back to when we were in that leads group. And I remember it wasn't a holiday item, but I remember the LeBron cereal boxes. Do you remember those?
The Wheaties.
Yes, the Wheaties. And I remember Casey and I, and it was so much fun. Like that's like the thrill of reselling is like finding those items out in the wild. And we were going to all the different Walmarts around us. And before we knew it, we had like 25 of those boxes and we were able to sell them and make a really good profit. But then after a while, everyone else caught on. Everyone else was finding them and listing them. And that just kind of brought the value of those down. So we were able to sell like 3 boxes for, I want to say it was like $60, $75 for the 3 boxes. We were selling them in lots. But then they started, there was just way too many listed and not enough demand. And they went down to, the value was like less than $10 a box.
Yeah.
So you have to be really careful with those items, not buying too many. Kind of like your Cocomelon example that we always talk about, which, you had so many that, don't you still have some?
I have 2. I think I have 2 left. One is at my mom's, and I know I have one in the basement of this house that we just moved into. The hunt, finding those dolls was like one of the biggest thrills, honestly, and like making the connections that I made. And those connections have served me very well after finding those dolls. So I consider that like definitely paying for a learning experience. And some of them were selling for like $90 a doll. I definitely made, a profit on them. And then once a lot of other people caught on and the manufacturers started producing more, the problem was that people were buying them faster than the manufacturer could produce them and ship them out. So the stores weren't getting them or getting enough of them before like people were just like going crazy. But then they caught on and then they started to overproduce them. And now there's like, more than enough. And if you go to these stores like Target and Walmart, you see the Cocomelon line has really expanded from just like the JJ, bedtime doll. They have a couple different dolls now. They have, not just the musical play set and the bus, which it was like the doll, the bus, the music. It was like the music set or like the medical kit or something. They have like a whole line of toys. It's like a huge chunk of shelf for all of the Cocomelon line. And it's crazy. So the popularity has probably increased with like the Netflix movies and whatever, but the demand for resale has gone down because now there's just like an oversaturation and there's no like scarcity around it. The manufacturer produced a ton more dolls, so they're just like everywhere. Even you can find them now at Marshalls and TJ Maxx for like $7.99 a doll or something. There's just not that like desire, the demand, the need, and the scarcity that goes along with like being able to fetch a higher price for a reseller. But every year, there is something like that. There is like the hot toy or the hot couple toys. And if you're thinking about, getting into doing some RA or OA, like keeping an eye on those things and checking in with like your kids, if you have kids that age, or your friends' kids, if they're that age, what are they looking for? What do they want for their birthday and Christmas? And what's like the hot toy this year? So I ask my girlfriend sometimes to ask her kids, she's got a couple kids, and ask them like what's like the best toy this year, for research purposes. But you want to, like Liz said, be careful. Don't go too hard on those items because you could end up having to find a way to liquidate them, try to make your money back. If you're doing retail arbitrage, you do have the option to return them, of course, but if you're shopping from places like Target, that could potentially flag your card, your Target account, your red card, whatever it is. And they could ban you from the store, which has happened to resellers that we know. Walmart is a little bit more relaxed with their return policies, but if you return too much, I believe they ask you for your ID, and they kind of keep track of how much you're returning. So I try not to return a lot of stuff because I don't want to give them problems. And it's not, I don't want to say it's not fair because, I mean, that's a huge company and like they have a return policy for a reason. But if I'm going to buy something, I want to buy an amount that I'm comfortable with reselling. And then if I need more, go back and get more. You know what I mean? Like I feel like we should just plan better instead of relying on their return policy to take the items back that we weren't able to sell. So that's just my 2 cents on that.
Yeah. And then also, if you're going to be buying a lot of those items, like you look things up and you see, okay, well, like with that Cocomelon doll, that was selling a lot. So obviously you're going to go out and get more. But even though you bought it a couple months ago, don't depend on that sell-through rate. Don't depend on that particular price that you're going to get from that doll. Like always be looking the items up again. That's like really good to do during the holidays because stuff gets saturated so fast that you want to make sure that you're still, if you're going to buy more, you're still going to make the profit.
Yeah, it's kind of like watching a stock price when things are, getting wild out there. Ideally, you want to check every single day. If you're looking for Bolo's hot items like the Cocomelon doll or like the Wheaties cereal, you want to recheck your comps every single day to check to make sure that it's not tanking and that the sell-through rate is still meeting your purchasing criteria. All right. So the next tip that we have for you is to make sure that you keep your handling time to a minimum during this time of year, especially. Buyers are looking for things now. Just because, Christmas is on a specific day doesn't mean that they need the item for Christmas. They might need it before that. Maybe they're doing a family party before Christmas or a couple days after. So making sure that you keep your handling time as quick as possible is really going to help you make more sales, because if it's between you and someone else that has a shorter handling time, even if they have to pay a couple bucks more, they're probably going to go with the person who can get them the item the quickest.
If you are worried, like a lot of you that are listening probably do have full-time jobs, so it might be difficult to ship same day or next day, but the post office, they actually have a self-service kiosk at some of the locations where if you're worried about that, you can just go scan it and then drop it in the night drop. And then that way the item is getting out. So if you're working and when you're off work, you miss the post office being open, that's another option, just to try to get that package out as fast as you can. I do know there's a lot of buyers who will message on eBay, when can you ship this out? A lot of people are worried that they're not going to get an item in time. So by having a really short handling time, that will definitely increase your sales during the holidays. So the next thing we have is research holiday trends. So which items will be popular, and Ashley mentioned like TikTok is a good one to follow. A lot of blog posts, like people that are posting about different items. I follow a bunch of different resellers. Following resellers to see like what they're buying. Don't just buy an item because you see somebody post about it. Do your research. I think that's a problem that, people get into, where they see a particular reseller that they really like, and this person is posting about this item. Realize also on social media, people don't post in real time. Like sometimes they're posting 2 weeks after. So maybe that item that they're posting about is 2 weeks old. And by then, it's not as popular as it used to be, or it's oversaturated. So really paying attention to those trends. I like using Google Trends. That's another thing that you can do. Just put in, toys or some keyword. And, we've found a lot of items by using Google Trends. There's Reddit. You can go on the Reddit platform. People post about stuff on there. But yeah, social media is a good place to look for some of the holiday trends. And then just going on eBay, like using their search tool, search holiday and see what's pulling up, see what items, have the holiday or Christmas or Thanksgiving in the title, and kind of do your research that way.
And another thing, if you've been a reseller for a while, you can kind of pick up on things that sell a lot, like year after year. So one of the examples that I talked about on Instagram the other day was there is this, it's like a 9-foot skeleton that I think it's Home Depot comes out with every single year around this time of year. It's like a huge lawn decoration. It's like a 9 or 10-foot skeleton. And I think the eyes light up and it, I don't know, makes some noise or some crap like that. But I think it's been like the last 3 or 4 years they've come out with this thing and it sells out every single year. It's quite expensive. I believe it's like $300 or $400, and they resell for like double that every single year. That's something to keep an eye out for, maybe next year, because as far as I know, they're all sold out and I don't know if they're getting any more, but things like that every single year. We know that the Jack Skellington and his like Girl Sally, like those items are pretty popular. It depends on the item, of course, but like stuff like that, pretty much every year, if you get the right item, pretty popular, good sell-through rates if you get in quickly. What else? Like air-blown inflatables, blow molds, especially vintage ones. If you have been going to yard sales this summer, checking, holiday items for those blow molds, older ones, those are good sellers. They're hot sellers. People look for that stuff. Every single year, there's certain categories of things that sell pretty well if you get like the right items. So those are some things to kind of like look into, do some research on. And something that I'm starting to do now, like this time of year, is, I'm big into like toys. So I'll walk up and down the toy aisle in like Walmart or Target and just like take it in, just look and see what are the new toys, what's going on, watch the gaps, like where there are empty spots on the shelf. So I will take a picture of that, like the barcode on my phone, so I can look up like whatever it is, like the UPC or the SKU or whatever, the store uses. I'll look that up when I get home and like check out the sold comps and see what's going on. Is it like a manufacturing issue? Are they just like super popular right now? If it's really popular right now, it's probably going to increase in popularity the closer we get to Christmas. Some items don't though. Some items just they fizzle out, they lose their popularity, but from like now until then. But there are some items that will like stay popular, and then like the demand for them will increase once we get to like Christmas time. So those are just some things that you can do to try to like find some trends to see like what's going to be popular and what's going to sell pretty well this year. All right. So the next thing is to run sales or to send out coupons to your potential buyers. People love a good deal. They love to feel like they're getting a good deal. We've talked about shipping, charging for shipping, free shipping. I'm still doing free shipping right now on eBay. I don't do like shipping discounts at all on Poshmark though, but if you listen to our next episode, I'm going to talk more about like a Poshmark closet and some things that I'm trying to revive in that closet. So definitely check that out. But, people love not paying for shipping. My sister just sent me a text message this week. It was like some meme about how, people hate buying or people hate paying for shipping. And it's true. They definitely don't like it, but buyers are also smart on eBay, like on Amazon. It's so easy with like Amazon Prime, you're not paying for shipping, but on eBay, buyers they're educated, they're smart, they know how to use the filters, and they're going to filter to like lowest price, right? To make sure that they are getting the best deal. If like the average price of an item is, $35.99 and you have yours priced at like $5.99, $5.99, that's like suspiciously low. So they might not buy it then. But if, you're $31.99, then yeah, like they'll probably buy it from you. So that's something to keep in mind. But like using the tools that eBay has in place for their sellers, I think is something that a lot of sellers kind of overlook, especially this time of year going into Q4. It's really important to like keep doing the things that you've been doing, running sales, sending out coupons, using the banner, on your store, if you have an eBay store, to let buyers know that you're running off a 20%, your entire store sale or whatever it might be. Use those things. They give them to you. It's free. It's part of, having a store. It's a tool that they give to you because it works and people notice that stuff. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that, I guess.
Yeah, I like the idea of running sales and stuff like that. But what's funny is I remember talking to one of my friends and we were talking about free shipping. And she said she will pay more for an item with free shipping than an item that doesn't have free shipping. She's like, I know it sounds crazy. She's like, if it offers free shipping, I'm going to go for that. So that could be something that you try to boost your sales, as maybe, instead of charging shipping, you just market to free shipping. And definitely the sales, I know we almost every weekend will run like a 10-15% off sale on eBay, and it just kind of helps boost our sales. I find that if I don't run something on the weekends, our sales tend to be less. I don't know if it's just a fluke, but it is good to just run something, especially around the holiday time. I mean, people are looking for the best deals and price our items a little too high. So I think that by running sales, it kind of makes our prices a little bit more competitive. All right, the next tip, which this is definitely going to be if you sell on Amazon, and I have a story for this one, but make sure you send your shipments in early because check-in times are longer during Q4. Right now, because of Prime even, because they had the Prime Day, our shipments are taking at least a week longer to check in. So you have to keep that in mind. If you have a lot of items, especially the seasonal items, if you're going to sell them on Amazon, make sure you're sending those items in right away. You do not want to wait for Amazon because the check-in times during Q4 are way longer than they would be during the summertime. So make sure you're doing that. Another thing to consider with Amazon, they charge storage fees during Q4. So as soon as October hits, you're going to see notifications in your Amazon account that they're going to be raising the storage fees. Right now, Amazon allows you a certain cubic foot to house your items in their warehouse. Before, it used to be per units. So they would say, okay, well, you can only send in 2,000 units. That's your cap. Now they do it storage based on how much space you're allowed. So that's why we keep everything at our house in our outbuilding, is because we don't want to have to pay these storage fees. They go from like 69 cents a cubic foot to like over $2. So it's like almost $2.40, $2.50 a cubic foot. Right when Casey and I started selling on Amazon, we had this giant order, the biggest order we had at the time. And we shipped it directly into the Amazon warehouse. Well, we shipped it in October. And over a 3-month period, we paid like $12,000 in storage fees. It was something astronomical.
Oh my God.
And we learned very quick that you definitely want to ship stuff in early during Q4, but you want to make sure that stuff is not going to sit because it will be subject to storage fees. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you have some toys that you found that you know are going to be good holiday toys, ship them in. You can also do FBM, fulfilled by merchant. You don't have to ship everything into the Amazon warehouse. You can do FBM. Maybe you have 20 of a toy. Just send in a couple of them and then restock them once they sell out. And then you can always have them FBA and FBM. Those are just really good tips.
Yeah. And, if you've only been doing FBA on Amazon, especially if you're new, this is like the time where you want to experiment and like try to FBM some stuff. So you're aware of like how the process goes. You're not like desperately trying to figure it out. Like, in December or whatever, if you stumble across like a really great item, you want to be able to have that option for yourself. If you find something, you don't have time between like the day that you find it and Christmas Eve, you want to be able to do FBM for those items, and because it's not going to make it to the warehouse in time, and then you're going to get you might get stuck on those items or not be able to get the price that you want for them. So being able to do FBM is, I think, like a really important thing for Amazon sellers. So if you're not aware of how to do it, experiment with it now. Learn how to do it now, so then you're not struggling like when it's go time.
Pretty easy. I mean, you'll get a notification if you have an item that sells that needs to be fulfilled. You go into your account and you buy the shipping directly through Amazon. You can do that, or you can even have, Pirate Ship? You can use that service to buy the label. I mean, it's pretty simple. But if you are going to do FBM, just make sure that you're shipping out right away. You're not, taking your time, because a lot of people on Amazon that's the platform that you definitely want to be shipping same day or next day, because those people don't want to wait for items.
Yep. All right. So the next thing that we have is to make sure that you're listing items as usual, but sprinkling in some holiday items. Sometimes people focus too much on Q4 and they forget, Q4 items specifically, and they forget to list other items that people still need. So if you're, a clothing seller and you're going to experiment with doing RA or OA this year, that's amazing. Like, definitely recommend. But don't forget to keep listing your clothing items too. You don't want your death pile to build up, first of all. Second of all, people are still shopping for these items as well. You can have a great Q4 as a used clothing seller. You absolutely can. People are still shopping for themselves too. I mean, I think most of us are probably guilty of that, going out Christmas shopping and we find probably a couple too many things for ourselves, so people are still buying for themselves. So it's something to keep in mind.
All right. And the last thing is, during Q4, you definitely want to make sure that you are setting a budget and stick to it. So a lot of people tend to just go really hard. They find those, toys that are going to be the hot item, or maybe there's what are they, Squishmallows or Squishamels, or what do you call those things?
Squishmallows.
Squishmallows. I was totally off. Yeah, so some of those items they're just the ones where if you can find them, you buy them. But a lot of people end up overspending. They max out their credit cards. And then when it comes down to it, they have to wait for their sales to come in because they maxed out their budget. They can't afford anything else. So that's one thing that you definitely want to do. If you are chasing these, BOLOs, the be on the lookout items, try not to go too hard. Know your budget. If you only have, $200 to spend, maybe you just buy 2 of them instead of buying all 10 that are in the store. It's okay to leave some stuff behind too. I think a lot of us, when we see these items out, we just want to buy them all. Well, there's times where that doesn't really work out. And Casey and I were at a Nike store when we were on our road trip, and we went into a Nike outlet, and I found these really cute, they were like a leopard print Nike Air Max high tops. And I messaged our friend Josh, who's big into Nike sneakers, and I was ready to buy all of them. And there was probably 13 of them. And he goes, that's a really good price, good sell-through rate. He's like, I would buy just 1. But knowing me, I was like, okay, well, to me, that means I'm going to buy 3. So I ended up buying 3 of them, which we've sold 1. We still have the other 2. But that's just an example of, he's really disciplined with the items that he buys, and he knows that he can't just buy them all. Sometimes you just have to stay within your budget.
Yep, absolutely. And you don't want to blow your budget early and then come across something, that you can flip fast and for a good price and not have the funds to be able to get those items. Or maybe an opportunity comes your way to do wholesale or some sort of liquidation pallet. That was a great deal. You just don't know what's going to pop up. So definitely just making sure that you stick to your budget. Don't overspend. Don't get caught up in the hype and feel the FOMO, you're missing out on things because you see veteran resellers that have been doing this for 10 plus years. They probably have a bigger budget than someone who has only been doing this for 6 months or a year or 2, and that's okay. We are all in different spots, but it's just important to not get too caught up in feeling like you're missing out or not doing enough or not spending enough or not selling enough. You're doing what you can do, and just stick to what you know you can do. Stick to your budget. Don't go over it, and you're going to be fine.
All right, guys, that's a wrap on today's episode. Thank you so much for listening to the Paycheck to Daycheck Reselling Podcast. Anything we mentioned in this episode will be linked down below in the show notes or description down below. Be sure to share this episode with anyone you think it will help, and follow us on social media at P2D Podcast. Thanks again for listening. Keep working towards that Daycheck.